1921, Andrew Carnegie appointed a man by the name of Charles Schwab to become the new president of his steel company, the United States Steel Company. This decision puzzled most people, as Schwab wasn't a genius, nor was he the most knowledgeable about steel manufacturing. He did, however, possess a trait that Carnegie deemed invaluable. He was an expert in dealing with people. Being able to understand how people think, and then utilizing that information to get them to do what you want to do, is perhaps the most important skill that anyone could have. And it is that fact that brings me to another Carnegie, one with a contribution to society arguably as influential as the U.S. Steel Company. Interpersonal skills and public speaking expert Dale Carnegie. Author of several New York Times best-selling self-improvement books, Carnegie was devoted to discovering both how to win people to his way of thinking and how to get people to like him. He unveiled his findings in a revolutionary guidebook entitled How to Win Friends and Influence People. How to Win Friends and Influence People is the book to read for anyone looking to expand their personal skills and thus become more successful. There are 4 key reasons for this fact: the immense credibility of the book, as well as Carnegie himself, Carnegie's unique writing style and formatting, Carnegie's deep understanding of his audience, and more importantly, what they want, and finally, his clever use of rhetorical devices, all of which empower his arguments and deepen his readers' understanding of them. As the author of several best-selling psychology and self-improvement books, Dale Carnegie has established himself as one of the most predominant and well-accomplished figures of both fields. In addition to How to Win Friends and Influence People, he wrote several other guidebooks such as How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, and How to Enjoy Your Life and Your Job. All of these titles follow the same general format, and I recommend checking them out if you struggle with the skills they entail. How to Win Friends and Influence People, unlike many of his other titles, is appealing to a much wider public, as its key points, strengthening one's interpersonal skills, are applicable to nearly everyone. In reading it, one will learn the fundamental techniques of handling people, how to make people like them, how to influence how others think, and how to become a leader. The evidence that Carnegie uses to convey these points is more qualified, thorough, and credible than any other non-fiction book on the market, as he went through profound lengths to gather his information. Carnegie explained that in preparation for this book, he read everything that he could find on the subject, hired a trained researcher to spend 18 months in various libraries to find even more information on the subject, and had read, quote, over 100 biographies of Theodore Roosevelt alone. On a personal level, I have found How to Win Friends and Influence People to be quite useful. A key argument of the book is that instead of condemning people, that we should learn to understand them, and that in doing so, we will become better at dealing with them. By applying this sentiment to my everyday life, my ability to handle people has been enhanced. But don't take it just from me that this book is useful. Hundreds of satisfied readers have written positive reviews about it, explaining how by applying the principles explained in this book to their lives, that they have experienced significant improvements in their social interactions and ability to influence others. I mean, for a book to withstand the test of time and remain a bestseller of over 30 million copies nearly a century after its publication, well, it's got to be pretty useful, right? One of the most compelling reasons to read How to Win Friends and Influence People is the unique way in which it's written. In each chapter, Carnegie provides his readers with a tip on how to have better social interactions, before utilizing a wide array of historical examples, personal and impersonal anecdotes, and analytical studies to convey his suggestion and deepen his readers' understanding of why his suggestion is so strategic. For example, in the chapter, If You Want to Gather Honey, Don't Kick Over the Beehive, Carnegie argues that sharp criticisms and rebukes only lead to futility, and that instead of condemning people, we should attempt to better understand them. Alone, this information is useful, and it could definitely be used to enhance one's social interactions. But what really enables the reader to comprehend this sentiment is the engaging and descripting examples of it that Carnegie provides. Some of these include a cop killer named Two Gun Crowley, several accounts of President Abraham Lincoln and his wise approach to life, and a personal anecdote in which he had written an angry letter to someone out of rage. All of these examples either illustrate how making sharp criticisms can lead to failure, or how being understanding of people can lead to success. In order to truly understand a sentiment and then apply it to our lives, it is important for us to know the hows and whys of it, and Carnegie's thorough analysis of each of his claims does just that. One of the most overlooked traits of a good book is the author's ability to understand what their audience wants and how they can craft their book to fulfill those desires. In his writing of How to Win Friends and Influence People, Carnegie demonstrates a deep comprehension of this sentiment. He understands that his audience, people looking to improve their interpersonal skills, are likely not reading this book purely out of enjoyment. They are looking to learn from it and then apply the principles that they learn to their daily lives. Because of this, Carnegie crafts his book in more of a how-to style, while also including an abundance of examples and explanatory content for each topic. Absent from this title is redundant, excessive, or unnecessary information, as again, Carnegie is understanding of the fact that his audience is only here to learn. Thus, he attempts to incorporate their desires, learning in the most efficient way possible, into how the book is written. Another effort he makes to create a more viewer-friendly experience is a prologue chapter dedicated exclusively to helping his readers learn from this book. Entitled 9 Suggestions on How to Get the Most Out of This Book, the chapter contains suggestions from Carnegie such as taking notes, asking yourself questions, and being attentive. Another thing that Carnegie does to make it easier for his readers to learn is by straight up telling them when there is an important piece of information. If he says something that he deems noteworthy, he'll announce that it is noteworthy to his readers, encouraging them to pay attention and perhaps even take notes on it. This can be seen with the example on screen now. Carnegie is literally saying, this is important, so I'm going to say it in italics again because it's important. It's a very unconventional style of writing, and it's almost what your teachers always tell you not to do, but he writes this way because he wants to appeal to what the readers want, and that's his goal with this book. Throughout How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie utilizes nearly every rhetorical device in the book. This enhances the fluidity of each chapter, and overall makes it a more comprehensible, enjoyable, and useful guidebook. The rhetorical device that Carnegie uses most frequently is the rhetorical appeal of logos. For example, while attempting to convey the argument that readers should not complain about the snow on your neighbor's roof when your own door is unclean, he encourages the reader to think about it from a logical standpoint. He asks them the following question. Do you know someone you would like to change and regulate and improve? Good. That is fine. I am all in favor of it. But why not begin with yourself? From a purely selfish standpoint, that is a lot more profitable than trying to improve others, yes? And a lot less dangerous. By making the audience think logically, Carnegie is deepening their understanding both of the text and of his sentiment. This will eventually enable the reader to apply these topics that they are learning to their daily lives. Another example of Carnegie's usage of logos occurred while he was explaining a woman who went clinically insane in search of the feeling of importance. Carnegie suggested that we appeal to this desire for a feeling of importance, as logically speaking, if someone would go insane to feel important, then if we attempted to make them feel important ourselves, that we could get them to like us. Just like the previous example, Carnegie's usage of logical appeal allows the reader to obtain a better grasp of the content that he's conveying. To conclude, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People is the perfect model for a well-written guidebook. The profound lengths to which Carnegie went through to find examples for each chapter, as well as his unique and informative writing style, which, by the way, was catered directly towards Carnegie's target audience, combined with his expertly used rhetorical strategies, make it an absolute must-read. Not to mention the fact that you will almost certainly enhance your interpersonal skills. It's time you add reading this book to your to-do list, because it might just change your life.